If you watched my last video on the Lower Montauk branch, you may have heard me mention another branch. Well, actually multiple, but it's this one that I'll be focusing on in this video. You've guessed it correctly, it's the one I said I would do. Yep, it's that one. I'm gonna say the name right now. It's the one you've been waiting for. Here it is. All of you know what it is. It's this branch. This is the name. I'm gonna say it right now. It's So like many other defunct passenger branch lines of the Long Island Railroad, the Bay Ridge branch became freight operated. But how did the branch originally begin? Well, it started with the New York, Bay Ridge, and Jamaica Railroad, who opened their line in 1876 from Bay Ridge to New Utrecht Avenue, near the site where the D and N train meet in Brooklyn. But in November of the same year, the company was sold and incorporated into the New York and Manhattan Beach Railway, which was owned by none other than Austin Corbin. He decided to extend the line to new lots in 1877 and change the gauge of the track to 3 feet, which meant that the entire line had to be replaced. In the same year, the line was extended to East New York. Now there was also another section of railroad that extended south to Coney Island to serve Corbin's hotel that was being built at the time. However, I will not be exploring that section as it is part of another branch that I will cover in the future. Anyways, in 1878, a new extension was built to Greenpoint, which would eventually become known as the Evergreen Branch. The New York and Manhattan Beach Railway became the New York, Brooklyn, and Manhattan Beach Railway and extended the line once more from East New York to Glendale in 1883. There, it would meet up with the Lower Montauk Branch and end at Fresh Pond Road. Although the railroad saw great traffic, it began to decline in the early 1900s and it ended passenger service in 1924 to become a freight line. It was only then when the line from Bay Ridge to Fresh Pond was referred to as the Bay Ridge Branch. So today, I'm going to explore the branch line and discover the locations of the stations that closed in 1924. So let's get started. The Bay Ridge Branch technically starts at Fresh Pond, where it meets up with the Lower Montauk Branch. But the tracks actually continue beyond the Lower Montauk and actually cross over the main line of the Long Island Railroad. So, if you are ever on a train near where the Port Washington branch splits, you can look up to see the old railroad bridge with maybe even a freight train up top as well. Then, those two tracks actually continue even further to meet up with the Amtrak in Queens. But anyways, the first station on the Bay Ridge branch is Fresh Pond, which I already covered in my previous video. After leaving Fresh Pond, the branch crosses a few streets, so there are many places to have a look up at the railroad bridges. However, at Myrtle Avenue, you would come across the location of the next station. Trust me, there's actually a platform up top, although it's just merely a slab of pavement, but it is there. Then the line continues past Evergreen Park until it gets to our next station, Cypress Avenue. Again, there used to be a station up there, although there is not much left of it today. Now, at Cooper Avenue, another branch would have split from the Bay Ridge branch, called the Evergreen Branch. If you go to Google Earth and look down at the location where the tracks intersect the road, you can make out the path where the Evergreen Branch would have curved off. There's actually still some evidence of the old rails at street level, but I will get to that when I make an actual video about the branch. Right after this, the Bay Ridge branch runs next to the L train, which means that you can actually see the branch from an L train between Wilson Avenue and Bushwick Avenue stations. Speaking of Wilson Avenue, when you enter the station, you are actually walking under the branch. Now the line starts to dip down and goes underground where two stations would have been, Bushwick Avenue and Fulton Street. I couldn't really find any traces of them up top, but I am certain that the platforms are still below the street. The Bay Ridge then emerges at East New York, where there's a station there. If you go to Liberty Avenue, you can look into the tunnels, but more importantly, you can still see the platform of East New York Station as it extends into the tunnel. Then for about a mile, the line runs into a trench, so now you're looking down from a street instead of looking up. This clip was taken at Livonia Avenue, near the L train station of the same name. Now after the branch becomes elevated, it curves to head west towards the East River. At East 92nd Street is where Rugby Station lays, originally named Ford's Corners. Okay, so I found this park near the site of Rugby Station, and it's actually a railroad-themed park, and I researched it and it has nothing to do with the Bay Ridge branch, but I still find it interesting. But it's the next station that has the weirdest name out of all the stations on the Bay Ridge branch. It's Kewanhoven. This station is located where the line crosses over Kings Highway. About another mile, and you eventually get to Vanderveer Park Station, originally named Flatlands. The location of the station would have been somewhere around here, just below my feet. If you're wondering where the tracks are, they're underground in a tunnel, obviously. Then walk down Avenue I until you get to Ocean Avenue Station. There would have been a station here, just before the junction with the Manhattan Beach branch. Again, that will be another branch I will explore in a future video. Between 14th Avenue and 15th Avenue, the Bay Ridge branch runs along the N train, meaning at some stations, you can peek down onto the freight tracks. Actually, I do have some footage here when I was on an N train as it ran next to the branch. Now, the penultimate station is 3rd Avenue, and if you go to where the branch intersects 3rd Avenue, well, there's pretty much no trace left, so I'm continuing to the final station, Bay Ridge. Now, I'm assuming that the station would have been somewhere here, close to the East River. Beyond what was the station is the 65th Street yard, where a few freight cars are parked there. But if you look to the very end of the yard, then you can spot the point where train cars will be transported onto boats to be taken across the river. So that wraps up my video on the Bay Ridge branch. I apologize for taking quite a while to make this one. I still have a bit more branches to cover, so stay tuned. In the meantime, consider subscribing to the channel and liking this video. I'll see you next time.